test our...
And we're live. Sorry about the delay, everybody. We had some technical difficulties on our end. But we are broadcasting live from Casio America. We're here to answer your questions about the Privia PX-S series. Again, apologize for the delay. My name is Mike Martin.
I'm Rich Formidoni.
So we are watching the chat window. We'll do our best to watch that throughout the live stream. But in general, we're going to give you a quick tour of the PX-S3000 or PX-S series in general, and then we will address your questions as we see them come up. So, you know, I assume if you're here that you might be a little bit familiar with the PX-S3000. This is an instrument that came out a few months ago. We've won numerous industry awards and accolades, and continues to get recognized by performers and other comparisons. There was a great video comparison that came out the other day by a music retailer, putting this instrument up against instruments costing 3-4 times as much.
Yeah. In fact, all three of them cost $24.99.
Oh my gosh. And so we're like a quarter of those, or a third of the price of those other instruments. And it was great to hear and read the comments below. I think everybody's reaction to this piano sound, how well it translates live.
Yeah.
On top of everything else this instrument does is quite remarkable. So let's just do a quick overview of the 3000 and what it's all about. If you haven't seen one in person, it's a remarkably unique looking piano. I think that's one of the things, 15 years since the original Privia, that they took a really great fresh approach into the way this instrument looks.
Absolutely.
So it's sleek, it's modern, it's very small.
Yes.
In fact, it's the slimmest 88-note digital piano available, and it weighs under 25 pounds, which is a big difference between all the other models that were featured in that video that we're talking about. So, slimmest digital piano in the world, and along with that, a new keyboard action.
Yeah, the new keyboard action is stellar, the new piano sound is stellar, and the design of it, as you mentioned, the aesthetics are just such a strong part of it. When you have it powered off, you don't see any of these controls. They simply vanish into the display.
Shut it off.
Yeah, why not?
You get to see a reflection.
Yeah.
There we go.
So now you can see it just looks like this beautiful piano-evoking instrument, but it barely takes up more space than the keys themselves. It is super, super slim, the slimmest, in fact. And it's also very, very short in terms of height. So if you're putting it on a desk or something like that, it just takes up way less space than any other digital piano.
Yeah, the image that you guys were seeing in the preview window before the broadcast started was the Privia PX-S3000 sitting on a desk. And I love the fact that when it's on a desk, it doesn't have your hands in an awkward playing position. It's really nice and comfortable when it's in that position. So we're going to dive into piano sounds, but coming up in the chat window, Timothy's got a question. How does the harpsichord sound? So it's a real nice harpsichord, complete with key off detail. So when you release you get the additional pluck on the strings there.
A more fuller bodied variant, if you want. So the harpsichords sound very good.
So yeah, we are watching the chat window, so I appreciate the question there. But the primary sound on the Privia pianos is the concert grand piano sound, which is 9-foot concert grand. It sounds absolutely amazing, and the PX-S series delivers some nuances that previous models could not. In fact, some things that frankly you see maybe only in modeled or virtual instruments that are computer based. So let's talk about what this piano sound can do as far as the nuances it can deliver.
Yes. And Tim, we see your other instrument requests. We'll get to them in just a minute. We just want to focus for a minute on the piano sound. It is the sound of a Hamburg grand piano, one of the most desirable sounding instruments in the world, and it is incredibly rich and complex and nuanced.
So that's awesome. And one of the things that I did when Rich started playing, and I apologize, this view is flashing just a little bit. We're trying to mirror the view of the iPad here up on the screen. But the PX-S3000 allows you to customize various elements of the grand piano sound, including things like string resonance, damper resonance, and much more. So yeah, I have to. There, string resonance, damper resonance, damper noise. So let's start at the top. Let's talk about string resonance real quick.
So string resonance exposes the complex harmonic relationships between vibrating strings. And composers like Debussy would use this and actually put the phenomenon in the notation because it conveys a very specific, very detail-oriented aspect of making music. So I'm going to press the keys of a C major chord, and I'm just holding them down, not pressing them hard enough to actually make a sound. But what's funny is there is a sound because there's mechanical key noises built in. But so now the felts on those strings have been lifted off, and the keys are free to vibrate. Now, if I press an F sharp or another non-harmonically related key, I just hear that note. But if I press a C that's an octave lower, you can hear that chord ringing out. So that's happening because these free to vibrate strings have a harmonic relationship with the C that I played down there.
So imagine virtually that the dampers are lifted on those three notes that you were holding down.
Right.
And so notes that are harmonically in common will virtually create, allow those strings to vibrate.
Yes.
And now we're gonna, yep. All right, Timothy, so just to address your question,
and
yes.
Also plenty of organ sounds too.
Yeah, so organs, vibraphones. We're going to get to many of the other categories, but I do want to dive back to the piano and some of the other nuances it can create. So damper resonance, this is the sound when you're using the sustain pedal or the damper pedal. You're lifting all 88 dampers, and all of the strings are vibrating freely and are free to interact. You can hear the sound of the dampers coming off the strings.
That's the sound you hear when you press the pedal.
So in fact, I'm also going to turn off the reverb effects here just so it's real clear what's happening here. So without the pedal, without the pedal, and now with the pedal, you can just let it go for a minute, but you can hear the body of the instrument to get, resonating, and you hear all the harmonics of all those different notes happening. So, hey Tim, we are watching, and trust me, we will get to all of your individual sound requests as we go. But there's so many. There we go. And I had the reverb turn. There we go.
The hall simulator on the pipe organs, if you call up the cathedral sound.
Here, check it out 1 second. Let's go in here and dial in.
That's the
cathedral.
I get this. There we go.
The stadium, the opera. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So there's over 700 sounds in the PX-S3000 in particular, and we'll do our best to watch the chat window and catch any, all those individual requests as we go. But let's just do a couple more minutes here on the acoustic piano sound, and we'll dial back in. So and let's turn the effects back off. So there was a couple other things in the acoustic simulator section to talk about. One was damper noise. So we have the SP34 pedal, 3-pedal option hooked up here. And this is a 3-pedal option. And what's cool about this is you get 3 pedals regardless of what kind of keyboard stand you're using. This is a great option for the PX-S3000. So unlike previous models and other competitive models where you have to buy the furniture stand to use 3 pedals. So we've got that level of control. And the damper pedal is velocity sensitive. So it will...
If I press it softly, I hear the felts lifting off the strings. If I press it hard, it's a louder effect.
Yep.
So
you know, all of these things, including the next section, which is the key knock, and this might be really, really subtle for an online broadcast, but you know, as you depress the key, you can hear the sound of the key, the wood hitting the wood in the instrument. So
gotta play it very soft. There you go. There's the sound of the key on. Now when I take my hand off the keys, you get the sound of the keys returning into place.
So these things like you know, damper noise and key knock, you know, these are things that when they aren't there, you know, it leaves you feeling a little empty. It's just amazing that this this instrument that delivers such level and nuance to the piano sounds. So there's many different piano presets in here, more than a dozen or so. So there's mellow versions, there's dark versions, there's rock and roll versions, there's salsa versions with octave pianos and things like that. So much to explore. Let's talk about a couple other things quick before we go to other sounds. You know, the PX-S3000, although it's in the small, you know, the slimmest 88 note package ever built, and under 25 pounds, it also has a great speaker system built in. So you've got great sound wherever you happen to go. The speakers fire out towards, you know, maybe a wall if you have it set up in your home in front of a wall on the stand. And that sound all reverberates back towards you, which is a great playing experience. But they're also ported on the front towards you. But whether it's a small performance situation or at home, it's the best speaker system in a portable 88-note digital piano. So a lot of you are looking at the chat window, asking about PX5S successor. Your feedback is duly noted.
yeah, we can never talk about future products before they arrive, but we know you want it.
Yep, absolutely. So I appreciate that. Theo asking about electric guitar sounds, which we'll get to.
Yeah, we're going to show you those when we talk about the effects.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, the SP34, that 3-pedal option, we've got a special new gig bag called the SC800. It's a cool backpack-style bag, holds the music rest, holds the 3-pedal option. It all fits in there. So, you know, it's a truly portable instrument.
Chandler's like our hype man here.
Awesome. We appreciate the help, Chandler, and
Absolutely.
everybody that's joined into the live broadcast today.
Joe, Brad, great to see you guys.
Awesome. So, you know, some other things about the PX-S3000. When we mentioned it has 700 sounds on board. You know, probably the most typical combination people talk about is piano and strings. And so the PX-S3000 has great string sounds. And what's also cool is you can plug in an expression pedal into that and play the two of them together. There we go.
So now I can use my expression pedal here. This happens to be an M Audio pedal. You can use just about any pedal except the one that starts with the letter Y.
Correct.
Just works a bit differently. But, you know, any old pedal will do. And now I'm using it to control the volume of that second layer. So I can take the piano out, or the strings out. Do some pretty expressive stuff there.
Absolutely. So you can assign that to control. So you can have 3 sounds going at once. You can have piano with a layer like piano and strings. You can also have a third sound in your left hand in the lower section, such as a bass. And you can choose which parts the pedal is controlling. In this case, we have it set up just to control the strings and not control the piano sound. But there's a variety of different options, and you can store that as part of a registration, and there are 96 registrations available for you to store your favorite setups.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a request for a solo violin sound.
Okay. Which, by the way, you still have piano going, but that's okay.
I do. I'm just going to take my layer off real quick and then jump to the strings, solo violin. This is one of these solo instruments. Anytime you call up a sound that says solo in front of it, you know it's going to have some natural expression, like this one, which has vibrato. So it's a nice long sample. There are flute sounds that have similar things. Are you looking for a specific
Yeah,
one
I was
there?
just going to go maybe to some of the brass where you can hear some of the nuanced vibrato.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, some absolutely outstanding solo instruments in a variety of different categories. So Joe was asking, could the pedal be used to bring in one sound and out the other?
If you set it to layer balance, the pedal target I've selected the wrong pedal. That would be why. Yes. So if I go to the expression pedal settings, pedal target, expression is the one we generally have it set to, but layer balance might do what we're talking about here. So now I'm going to turn my layer back on. Strings to brass. The answer
awesome.
is yes.
So, so absolutely, it crossfades right between from one sound to the other. So you could have, you know, that was an interesting example, crossfading from strings to brass. But any combination of two sounds, you can smoothly fade from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, and this question comes up all the time, is can the PX-S3000 change sounds without sound stopping?
Yes.
And absolutely, it can. So.
Just a quick example of that here. I'm just going to hold down a piano chord.
Which you still have layers going, by the way.
Oh, I do. I'm going to turn my layer off. And now I'm going to hold down a piano chord.
Oops. Yep, your pedal. And what did we do?
My fault. I've gone ahead and muted a thing. That's all right.
Yeah, so you can hold one sound, switch, and go back to another, and sound won't stop. So, great question. Yeah, and Chandler's mentioning all kinds of synth sounds and DSP control. So maybe that's a good place to go next, because the PX-S3000, in addition to the expression pedal, has two knobs over on the left-hand side. Just knobs 1 and 2, they're directly above the pitch wheel, so I don't have a camera angle for that. But
They're
using, they're right over there. But there's over on the right-hand side, the menus over here change depending on what you're doing. And one of the selections is knobs, and there's 14 different pairs of controls available to you.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is actually filter. So let me dial in a synth sound here real quick. So we got a synth sound here, and let's assign the knobs to filter.
So now the two knobs over here, the top one is filter cutoff, and the bottom one is filter resonance. Turn the resonance down a little bit. Now with that sound, let's say I wanted to turn this into sort of a pad sound instead
Absolutely.
of a stab. I'm going to change the function of those knobs to amp envelope. So now the two knobs are attack and release. So I'll raise the attack, raise the release. And now I'll go back to my filter. And I've got a pretty evocative, expressive synth sound.
Right. And so anytime you make changes to a sound like this, a tone like this, you can then store it. You
Right.
can store it to one of the 96 different performance registrations, and it remembers all of those settings, not only the filter or the envelope, but also any customized effect settings that you've made. So it's very, very cool.
Yep.
All right. So questions about taking a look at the chat window. And again, Tim, we're not going to get to every request as far as different synth or categories of sounds, but
Let's give him guitar. That segues us into effects.
yeah, of course. So yeah, I mean, I've got a couple go-to examples that I pull up here. I'm just going to go into the others category here. And by the way, each time you press, there's 6 different category buttons on the right-hand side: pianos, electric pianos, organs, strings, and so on. But there are subcategories within each of those. So, for example, if I press the electric piano, at first I get electric piano sounds, but if I press it again, I'm into clavinets. If I press it again, then I'm into vibes. So it's easy to jump to different categories from the front panel, even though there's 700 sounds on board. So in the others category, the first group is guitar sounds. And I'm just going to pull up, I think it's number 3. It's sort of a clean Strat sound. So, the effects on here are really outstanding, and we have a really talented DSP engineer behind the effects system in the PX-S3000. And you can get in and actually customize just about everything that it has to offer here. So by holding down the DSP button on the right-hand side, I can get into a section where I can choose from over almost 100 different effect chains algorithms that are in here. So some of the algorithms just have one effect. Some have up to 4 at once. So this particular example has a wah-wah effect, a overdrive effect, an amp cabinet simulator, and a stereo delay. And I don't have a good angle to play it from here. I'm leaving you. So, some really outstanding instruments, and I love playing guitar sounds and clavinet sounds and other sounds through this particular effect algorithm. There's some great choices. So, and actually, I was going to say, you can get in and dial this one back a little bit, which I think is pretty cool. So you bypass the wah, is that what you did?
Yeah. So I just hear that pure amp model.
Yeah, so you can actually get in, and I'm going to scroll over to the cabinet model, and there's over 90 different speaker amp choices in here to choose. So MB, probably meaning Mesa Boogie. We'll go in and choose, the great rich bass sound with that one. They all have a different character, and again, you can totally customize these to your own like. So
it's cool stuff. And then when you want to save it, you store it as a registration. Push the function button to get to the registration row, hold store, and touch one of the buttons to save.
Or we're storing that one. I like it.
I like it too.
All right. So one of the questions is, can you determine how much of the effect? So for each one of those stages, there's wet and dry mixes. So if I still wanted a little bit of that wah-wah, or if I want to dial back the delay, every single one of those algorithms can be customized to your liking. It's really in depth.
Right.
So I love the questions, guys. Keep them coming. So.
There's one about rhythms. Timothy's got a lot of great questions. In addition to the 700 sounds, the PX-S3000 has 200 rhythms built in, using great sounding drum kits, and there's also full accompaniment. So if I wanted to select one of these rhythms, I can just use this row of controls here and call one up. One of the first ones in here is really great. Hold down ballad, and it gives you my little one-touch settings there. So when you think of rhythms in a digital piano, you might be thinking of some stuff like waltz and polka and things like that, and yes, that's in here. But our engineers have been listening to the radio and keeping up and doing their homework. There's some very recognizable stuff, and if you're doing a one-man band type gig, this can cover you. It can bring in the rest of the band even when you're just by yourself.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I love about the accompaniment side is there's a variety of different chord scanning modes, and so you can, as you were doing in that last example, you can play the chord changes you want in your left hand and play on top of that. But you can also set it to scan the entire keyboard. So if you're playing piano, you can just play naturally, and it will scan what you're doing with both hands and adjust the accompaniment accordingly.
Right.
And again, each the chord mode can be stored with your registrations, because there's some songs you might want to play one way and some songs you might want to play another.
Right.
So awesome. So yeah, Tim says it's a keyboard. Yeah, it has. I mean, some of this DNA for the accompaniment section comes from the CTX series keyboards that came out last year. So there's some great styles and rhythms in there. So Chandler's correct. And he says, yeah, they were borrowed from the CTX series.
Right. Can you play Toccata? We are not taking song requests today. How's the filter response for EP to get that real feel? Well, let me call up a quick electric piano. I'll use one of the
Yeah, you
ones.
want to get into the probably the wahs and the auto wahs. Is that what he's talking about? Oops,
Turn
stop
off
your
the
accompaniment.
accompaniment. Yep.
All right, so you bear with me. I'm going to change effects here. So, and I'm going to dive into this auto wah a little bit further. Yeah, so there's, I mean, yeah, some great like touch wahs. There's auto wahs. All of the sounds can be customized to your liking. So, does it have a helicopter? I have no idea.
Oh boy, I think you need to pick up a 3000, Timothy. It
So
has all of these sounds. Yes.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna.
It's in there. It's in the SFX kit.
That's exactly where I was
In
going.
fact,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
really good helicopter.
I'm sorry. I almost have to go there because there's some really entertaining things in the drum section. There's a sound effects kit. So, actually, real quick.
Yeah, the drum kits that some of these rhythms use. Check out the snare drum. That's soft. There's 4 different levels of snare velocity. It's not just, the volume increasing. It's a recording of the drummer hitting the snare harder. These are really, really expressive drums. You can do a lot with them.
So real quick, just because it came up. Oh, there's some great electronic drums in here too,
Yeah,
by the way.
808, 909 kits.
But there is. Yeah, there's cats. There's babies. There's goats and chickens. Cows, and I do believe there's helicopters.
Somewhere in there is a helicopter.
And cars. Yeah, there's car crashings and.
Yep.
Yep. Thanks, Tom Hammer, for the win.
Yep.
So, some of those can be a lot of fun. Actually, I have a ton of fun with those. All right. So yeah, 700 sounds, including a wide variety of sound effects. So thanks, guys.
Oddly high quality sound effects.
Yeah. So Wolfcry, yeah. Again, there's a wide variety of electric piano sounds, but probably if you're looking for a touch wah where the filter is really changing like that, DSP is the way to go.
Yeah,
so.
and I was wondering if you meant just applying the actual filter to it. So there's a different electric piano. So now I'm going to take the knobs and set it to filter. If you bring in raise the cutoff, it definitely changes the timbre. So if that's what you meant by adjusting the filter, you can absolutely do that and then save it as a registration.
Oh gosh. So Joe mentioned in the comments, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go there. Yeah, it is. If I have to get out of the DSP section, I can't see the screen from here.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. There you go.
Sorry. So back, yeah, it is. We do have the sound of a Yamaha. So, sorry, there we go. I had to do it. Yeah, there's ambulances. There's all kinds of crazy sound effects, Tim. So, Wow, we've talked about a lot. You know, the portability, the wide range of sounds, of course, the phenomenal acoustic piano sounds. But there's more. The PX-S3000 will record audio.
It will.
You know, so if you get a moment of inspiration, you don't want to fire up the computer, or get any of that going, just plug in a thumb drive right into the back of the keyboard. Within a couple button presses, you can record CD quality audio, uncompressed WAV files directly to a thumb drive. So, and from there, pop it in your computer, put it on your SoundCloud page. You know, that moment of inspiration isn't lost.
Absolutely.
So it's great that you know, you have such a variety of sounds in there.
Absolutely. I'm just seeing a request for CR78. We have a lot of electronic drum machines represented in here. So 808, 909. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know if that specific model is covered, but as far as doing, you know, dance-oriented music, anything electronic, it's like a museum of vintage drum machines.
Wow, Stephanie. Stephanie says she's just getting this keyboard, speakers, batteries, lightweight, song recorder, sequencer. You can save things to the USB drive, input for guitar and mic. So there is an audio input on the back. There's an 1/8" audio input. And, you know, if there is not a microphone input or guitar, you know, preamp of any kind for our guitar. If you do want to run another instrument through it, I'd recommend getting a small mixer of some sort, and then going to the audio input. And actually, you know, everything going into the audio input can also be recorded to the USB drive. So it is possible, Stephanie, but I'd really recommend a small mixer to do that.
So I think the answer to everything else in your question is yes. It has all those things. It can take 6 AA batteries. The built-in speakers are fantastic. It is super lightweight, and it does have a MIDI recorder that can record 3 tracks along with the accompaniment that you're playing if you're using the built-in rhythms. Congrats on getting it. We know you're going to love it.
Yep. And by the way, you know, I'm not sure where you found out about today's YouTube video, this live stream. You know, hopefully you like this video. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified when we go live again. But I want to mention a couple other things. There's several different Facebook groups. There's a Casio Digital Pianos Facebook group. There's also a website called CasioMusicForums.com. And that's a great place where, you know, we try and watch it as much as we can, but you can get feedback from other users on how to do certain things. Chandler and many of the other people, Joe and Brad, participating here in the chat window, they're over there answering people's questions. There's also a download section where you can get custom registrations. So we've put some up there, and we're going to be putting more up there as well. And other users have already started putting up their own custom registrations. So people that have, you know, dialed in their favorite electric piano sound with a particular effect, you can download those registrations from CasioMusicForums.com. So, so yeah, sorry Tim, we're not going to do song requests, but yeah, you can layer piano and harpsichord. That's that's real easy to do. So. Do appreciate the questions, though. All right, so
we didn't talk about Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. Let's talk about Bluetooth. Yeah. Absolutely.
One of the greatest things about the PX-S series, both the 1000 and the 3000, is that it becomes the nicest Bluetooth speaker that you've got in your house. Also, it's extremely useful for performance. So you just connect your phone to it via Bluetooth. The Bluetooth logo lights up right on the top panel, and anything you play from your phone goes out the built-in speakers. So be careful if you're taking private calls, because you never know who else in the house is going to be able to hear you. If you need backing tracks for a performance that you're working on, that is when this becomes an indispensable tool for live performance. And it's the only Bluetooth speaker you own that lets you play along with the band.
Awesome. So great. The Bluetooth feature is really outstanding. And then we got Christian Terzik.
Hey, buddy.
Great to see you in the chat. Phenomenal pianist.
Look this guy up if you don't know him, Christian Terzik.
Yeah, there's great video from last winter NAMM, him playing the PX-S3000, and countless other videos with many of our other instruments. So Proud to have you in the Casio family, Christian.
Absolutely.
That's why we're hardly playing a darn thing. We're mostly talking today.
Yeah, now I'm
because-
nervous. I don't want to play when I know he's listening. Bluetooth MIDI. Good question. It does not support Bluetooth MIDI. The Bluetooth is only for audio input.
Yep.
So, yeah, but that said, it's still a tremendous benefit, and you can do lots of other great stuff connecting to the app via different means.
Yeah, speaking of MIDI, it's class compliant USB MIDI, so that means it works with pretty much every device out there, your Mac, your Windows computer, your iOS device, as well as Android devices. Anything that, it doesn't require a driver, it's class compliant. And that's still, Casio was the first company, and I still think one of the only companies that every product on our line that has USB MIDI is class compliant and drivers aren't required. And that would allow you to use, the Cordana Play application, which is a free app, for controlling this model, the PX-S3000 or the PX-S1000. A variety of functions, including learning aspects that help you learn to build, play songs, show you, there's some like video game fun aspects to it as well. You can also use the notation display view in there to put your own sheet music in there, and you can turn the pages from our pedal system. So,
right. Or a Bluetooth pedal.
Or a Bluetooth pedal for that matter. But class compliant USB MIDI, plug it in, it just works. The PX-S3000 works so well and feels so great. There's a lot of people using it with other products like Mainstage and other things where you just want the best feeling 88-note keyboard out there, and
Right.
it feels great. It also does high resolution MIDI, which some software instruments are supporting. You can disable it if you want, but high resolution MIDI, this keyboard doesn't just transmit 128 velocities, it transmits over 16,000 different velocities of resolution. So it's really an amazing responsive keyboard. Yeah, there's again, addressing some of the chat questions, there's DX pianos or DX style pianos in there.
Dating myself a little bit.
All right. Doogie?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Awesome, guys. Well, do appreciate the feedback and the participation. I'm looking at Stephanie's.
Modulation, separate wheels. It only has one wheel for pitch bend, but modulation type effects, you can use the expression pedal, the optional expression pedal, or you can use the assignable knobs to create those kind of effects.
Yep. So modulation is available from the knobs. So absolutely. And Bluetooth audio and MIDI, latency was MIDI latency was Chandler brings up in the chat window. That was kind of the biggest reasons that our engineers are still hesitant about it. It is getting faster with the latest protocols, but there is definitely an issue, and
especially with older devices. If people have a phone that they've had for years, they might not be getting the best experience, and we always want to provide that.
Yep. So. Yep. So with a class compliant USB, and in some cases with an iOS device, you need an adapter, but you have access to applications for all kinds of things for other instruments. So, yeah, an expression pedal input, absolutely, Stephanie. Again, appreciate the feedback there.
Yep.
All right. So I'm trying to think what else we haven't covered, but
there is so much to do on this that, I think we've covered a lot of it. Just to let you know, in addition to the built-in speakers, there are line outputs. And if you're trying it out in a store, it'll sound great through its built-in speakers. Once you hook it up to an amplifier or a PA system, or even through the headphones, you get a much a more immersive, a better feel for how it can sound live.
Yeah, and I think that's been one of Casio's trademarks for years, actually, is how well the piano sound translates in a live mix. And, of course, that started with products like the PX3 and then the PX5S that didn't have speakers at all. And so people finally started hearing Casio pianos in a live situation thanks to those instruments. The PX-S3000, however, takes it to another level. This piano sound translates extremely well live in mono, where sometimes other brands sort of fall apart in mono. And this new piano sound in the 3000, along with all of its nuances, is just gorgeous to play in any environment. And I mean, I know performers that are using MainStage and using other things for everything except for the piano sound, because this translates live.
Earlier this week, if you saw on our Facebook groups, there was a video posted where somebody played a PX-S3000 and then played the same thing, the same song, on 3 other instruments, all of which cost $24.99 US. And just look at the comments. It kind of tells the whole story.
Use your ears, listen to it through something besides your phone speaker or your laptop speaker. Put on some headphones or put it on some studio monitors. I think, it is amazing how well this piano sound translates, and we do love the sound of the piano live. So Stephanie is bringing up the issue about someone that's visually impaired using a product like this, and I think first and foremost, it's a piano, and it feels great and it plays great, and yes, there are a number of functions and other things that this instrument can do, but first and foremost, it's a piano, and it's going to be a beautiful instrument for anybody to play. We still also have a variety of other instruments in our lineup that do have physical buttons as well. So,
and it's when you think about all the functions that are here, if we had one button per function, the keyboard would be 9 feet deep.
Right.
It's just capable of so much.
So yeah, I think we went for this elegant approach here, and I think the reaction we've had from dealers and end users is, it looks truly unique and it plays phenomenal, and that's a number of reasons that it's been getting the recognition that it's been getting.
Yeah.
So
what you mentioned is something that goes into design, and one of the things that is especially useful about this particular instrument is all the buttons are on one row. So if you can memorize the position of each of the buttons, you never have to memorize up and down. You only have to memorize left and right, which you can associate with a specific key. So if your hand can find that key, you know what button's above it. It's much more it's much easier than other instruments that have multiple rows of buttons if you're visually challenged.
Yeah, so just as an example, Rich is saying, I think you can see on this overhead camera, so directly above this G key is the piano category button. So I can switch from there from pianos to electric pianos to harpsichord. So that's something, that point that the keys themselves can be navigation towards those parts of the keyboard. So it can be done. It's not perfect, but absolutely we understand. But I think I think there's a great compromise here, and it's a beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
So awesome. So connecting to the piano to a mixer, you might want to turn off the speakers. So, I think that's a matter of opinion. Igor mentions when you plug in the 1/4-inch outs that the speakers don't shut off. And I think one thing that we hear from artists frequently is that they still love to feel the vibration that's happening in the instrument while they're playing the piano. So even though you're amplifying it through a larger speaker system, PA or something like that, I know many players that prefer to keep the built-in speakers going
just for the vibration that mimics a
yeah.
grand piano. Personally, I like having the ability to monitor myself on stage before the sound guy has me hooked up. I can practice a little bit, annoy the rest of the band, sure, but I get
well,
to
the guitarist can do it, and so can the drummer. So
that's right. It's our turn now.
Exactly.
So the workaround for this, Igor, is plug a little headphone adapter into the jack, speakers turned off.
All right. Well, I think that just about wraps up this broadcast that we're doing here today on our YouTube channel. But as I mentioned earlier, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd like to do more of these events in the future, but do let us know that with your feedback that you enjoyed this video, and we'll be sure to work more of these into our schedule.
Absolutely. Smash that subscribe button.
Awesome. All right. But for today, I appreciate your time, and thanks for showing up. My name is Mike Martin.
I'm Rich Formidoni.
Thanks so much for watching.